So people can roll in when they roll in. So, anyways, today, I gotta say, today is a more boring topic for me. I know listening to Skip last week talking about QBRs is super boring, but to me, it's a necessary conversation. But and it's something you have to do, like how to effectively deliver quotes, ensure quotes are easy to understand, effective follow up, and how to keep contact with clients. The problem with these topics is that they're really important and we don't want to do them, so we don't.
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, like we feel like once we have sat in a room and got buy-in from the client, that okay, done.
Yep.
Okay, now I can get to work, right? I think the mantra for the engineers is shut up and let me do my job. But I have learned over probably this last year in particular the importance of wrapping up your quotes, following up in solid ways that are predictable, that your clients can understand. And I used to hate drip campaigns and touch points like that, but now I get it. I miss certain things. Like for instance, Gartner totally got me the other day. And if anybody wants a copy of this PDF thing I got, so how you get those emails that say, and this goes into the drip campaign and following up. Gartner always sends out the how to be a better CIO, or they send out little like drips to like say, hey, why don't you download this PDF with all these stats we have?
Mhm.
And I really like Gartner's white papers. I really enjoy their research, and they know that I am a data nerd and I am their target.
Mhm.
So they're always trying to sell things to me. And they finally got me with one that I think is really good. So if you guys want to go out and find this, or you can ask for some time with me and I'll go over it or whatever. But it was just on what was going to happen in 2021 with CIOs. And like these little drips like this, like they have been sending me emails on a weekly basis for probably 3 years. And this is probably the second one I have downloaded.
All right.
And I'm sure I'm going to get a call from them, but I really like this. I found this very valuable. I never went off the drip campaign. It costs almost nothing for you guys to send out emails to stay in contact with customers. Think about the number of customers you have where you did one project with them and you haven't spoken to them in years. Maybe you just went in and installed a Wi-Fi system for them. Maybe you installed a router for them and it was a one-off project. And at some point they're going to want to talk to you again, but if it's been a year or so, they don't remember you. And so having this constant contact, to use a phrase, is to do these little drips. So send a client list, a group of things then that are useful that they can action off of. So for me, when it comes to how to keep in contact with clients and how to make these little emails worthwhile, is you have to give them an action item that works for them.
Yeah.
And so if you look at our emails that come out every week, some of you haven't realized, I can tell how far people scroll and where people click on the emails that come through. And Mike always clicks on Skip's face every time.
Just throwing a dart at it.
It's better than what Bob clicks on. So, anyways, the the point is that you look at like my emails that I craft every week, and the way we built those emails is following a sales process of um, how do you keep people interested? How do we deliver things that are useful to you? So, of your clients, how do you give them information that is useful to them? Like these guys at Gartner know that I really love stats, and they keep sending me white papers with more stats on them. And this is one that I plan on quoting in some of our marketing material future. I highly recommend you guys do it as well.
Yeah. Well, scroll
So
down. I think there's a really good one there
see,
that,
see, you want me to keep scrolling.
yes.
And so you make these things. These things are practically free to make. What's fun about you as an HIT members are that we already have built these things. You can use the 4 pillars PDF. Download to find out how you can get your head around technology portfolios, or send them out like, hey, check here for this podcast. We've already made a lot of this drip material for you. All you do is copy and paste it and throw it in and send it out to your 100 people and just put your name on it. Yes, it's Adam and Skip talking in the podcast, but to your clients, it's coming from you.
Yeah.
It's something that they can digest and you're touching points on. And maybe Skip and I talk about in one of our podcasts about how you need to talk. If you listen to our podcast, you'll notice that we do call this out. Like, you need to talk to your technology professional about these stuff.
Yep.
And so if your clients might catch it, like, oh yeah, that is important to me. I should talk to Mike. I should talk to Bob. I
Yep.
should talk to Richard. You know, they'll go through these things, and we've already built the marketing collateral for you. All you have to do is just start using it in a drip. Every week in that Tuesday email that I send out to all of you, there is a section where you can use that to create a marketing drip.
Yep.
It was created by my marketing company as a summary of the podcast, which is built to inspire conversations between you and your clients. I get no advertising dollars from the podcast. Skip gets no advertising dollars from the podcast. That podcast is built simply to help uh, business owners and IT professionals have better conversations. That's what that's for. Use it to increase your sales.
Yep. Keep going a little bit. You were down on the application side. Okay, there we go. Application leader. So this one is great, and it's not just that they sent this out and this is a great hook, but this is also a format that you need to be paying attention to. So I love this part here. IT businesses, collaborations will deliver business outcomes 25% faster than their competitors. All right. So that's a really cool business focused driver that you need to lead with. You need to accent on that, because what you want to do is then when you're talking about the projects, you're not talking about, hey, we're going to deliver, a complete Cisco WebEx solution, or roll out Teams and all of its different iterations. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to deliver IT business collaborations so that you can increase business outcomes by 25%. That's what you're doing, right? And that change in the focus is going to help drive the things that your clients are really wanting to hear about. They don't want to hear about the nitty gritty of, Microsoft Web or Microsoft Teams or Cisco WebEx or, all of those back end things that they don't care. They really do care about increasing their business outcomes by 25%. You've got their attention at that point. So those are the lead elements that you want to drive with.
Yeah. Actionable items in your drip campaigns, the actionable things that are going to affect them. And the problem is, a lot of you don't have time. That's why you're in the HIT community. We have the time. We are doing this for 100 of you. So let us, I drop, like $7,000 on marketing in a month, and that's for you guys to utilize. That's $7,000. You guys do not have to drop on anything. So, and the reason we can do things like that is because we have this we have this membership where we can now create things that are really useful, that push the HIT process, the framework, the risk, the service, the strategy, the architecture. And because it's following that framework, you can now use a really cool marketing material and pair it with actionable items, or hey, did you knows, that result in people having conversations with you for almost no effort. And so this kind of leads into how to effectively deliver quotes, because you've spent your year talking about or doing these drips and keep in building up interest. Make sure these quotes deliver on what's going on and what you have been talking about in your drips. So I have it here somewhere. In the MS, I rebooted my computer, so I got rid of everything.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to show how to do a quote in managed service platform and how to narrate that quote, so that if you're kind of like, you've talked to your customers, you did let's say you did a Wi-Fi upgrade for them 3 years ago. You know they're coming up on a refresher, or maybe it was 7 years ago, whatever your life cycle is. You can go in and create a client, and then you can create the project to quote them on a refresher. Like, hey, by the way, we ran this Wi-Fi update for you a couple years ago. Did you know that that product's at the end of life, and now you can do this? So when you deliver the quote, it's just a list of solutions to something you already did for them. So this is what happens when I reboot my computer, man.
Well,
I have all these 300 tabs open that now I've got to reopen again.
Yeah, they all reopen.
They should. But then I say, no, I need to clean up my tabs. So this is my way of killing. Literally, I have usually around 70 tabs open.
I've got tabs I've had open for months now, and keep going back and moving the needle just a little bit on them. So we'll get there.
All right. So here we go. I'm back. So your project proposals here, this demo proposal I have made, like there's no reason why I cannot take this proposal. And if you guys don't know how to create these, grab Skip or me and we'll run you through them. We did this a couple weeks ago. But you can take this quote and you can give it to them with a narration in the email or in a quick little like business format. And you see me teach those about how you'd identify a problem, and then the quote is the solution in this case. So in a lessons learned, the action plan is the quote. So those of you who know how to run lessons learned really well, understand that if you do an effective quote, it should look like a lessons learned. What went well? What did not go well? What can we do better? What can we do better is your quote. So when you give them this quote and you give them the narrative at the top, the 2 paragraphs or the 1 paragraph, say, hey, last year, pandemic hit, all these things went wrong. We really augmented these things in our company. Everybody transitioned to a work from home really well. Here's how we can do this better. Let's upgrade laptops. Let's get a better firewall in, and let's make sure that everybody can communicate from home. Yep. That's the quote. And I know this is simplified. I feel like I'm a broken record here, but that's why we make things simple in the HIT framework, because the same patterns get seen over and over again. And this effective follow-up becomes this drip. You can now have this electronic format here, and you've got the result, and you've got it typed up in a little proposal up top. Now you can just send this out as a drip, like, hey, remember that time we talked about this? Hey, remember that time? And then when you do the emails, like, so when you send out your Monday email, like with my podcast snippet in it, you can now say, hey, by the way, if you want to solve those at-home problems, look here. Or you can use one of our podcasts that talked about working from home. Hey, and by the way, if you want to get one of these strategies to work from home, listen to this podcast about these guys talking about this. And by the way, for X dollars, I can deliver that setup. These are things you can do to make things more effective with marketing and campaigns and making it digestible by your clients. Your clients aren't looking at the NIST recommendations. They're not looking at the reliability of Zoom streaming. They're not looking at the firewalls and stuff here. What they're looking at is the bottom line and the narrative that you send out to them. And it might take several impressions to get there, but if they suddenly think only for $17,000 they can make all their problems go away, that number gets in their head. And you've given them the problem. The problem is you're having a sucky time working from home. If you want to fix that, it's $17,000.
Yeah. Well, and a word on the pricing on these as well. Keeping them in the perspective of the business goal. And again, we're talking about this. It's not just a one silver bullet to knock all these things out. You're going to have to constantly drive to the business goals. So let's take that top one there as an example, work at home laptop. All right. So, $667, that seems pretty cheap for me. I'd sign off on that pretty quick, but let's say, that's $2,667. Okay. So now, that's a little bit more expensive. We must be talking about a little bit higher end laptop, but if the context is, hey, I've sent this employee home, we pay them 6 figures a year, and they're not able to work right. We have a internal, maybe your client has a, their service industry, and they're billing out their people much the way we do our people. And so, we're billing out this guy at $250 an hour, and he can't get the work done because the laptop he's got so crappy, right? If you're understanding, hey, we're going to enable this employee with a $2,600 laptop so he can bill more hours, right? Your client's going to do some quick math there, and say, hey, $2,600, I bill that guy out at, $250 an hour. Gee, all I need is 11 hours worth of billing, and I've got my money back on this. We're going to make our money back in the first week. So all of a sudden, this what might seem to be a bigger ticket item that you might, have historically run in some roadblocks with, seems like a no-brainer because it's positioned in the light of a business goal with a business outcome and in relationship to business revenue. And these things snap right through really, really quick. So, again, in delivering these quotes, to talk about them efficiently, to get buy-in on those, and to get the pricing set appropriately, you have to start from the beginning with a business-focused conversation.
Yeah, and remember, we're doing this at this point in March, so we're in the second week of March here. You should be fully going with your QBRs for Q2 right now. You should be going to your big clients and saying, we need to do a QBR for Q2. The reason why we want to keep this in mind is because some of your clients are not going to be totally bought in yet. They're going to see the idea, they're going to be happy about it. They're still apprehensive about the economy. We're starting to see a lot more buy-in right now, especially now that the new stimulus has been announced as of yesterday. So people kind of know where things are going. So when you're pitching these QBRs that we've been talking about for the past 6 weeks, now you're developing a strategy to maintain the quote. If it's not bought in immediately, how do you maintain that quote? How do you market that quote and keep it in front of your clients for the next 4 weeks or so until they buy in? And so you get those a little bit more apprehensive people like starting to think, oh, okay, yes, I do need this. Or you're staying in front of them with projects they did not buy into. Maybe they did the work at home laptops, $667. Why is that? Because it's a monthly fee.
Yeah.
And they decide they don't want to do the NIST recommendation for asset inventory, and they don't want to do reliability of Zoom streaming because they're not coming back on site quite yet. And so you can take these two off the quote, but you can use them in a drip campaign to make sure that this client is constantly getting this like once a week, and that they're being touched back in. Maybe put a reminder on your calendar to reach out to these people, or just if you have HubSpot or you have a CRM of some kind, just make sure they're getting a touch point like every once in a while. You can look and see, hey, we had like 10 customers where we pitched Zoom streaming, none bought in because they're not going on site yet. Let's make sure we keep it in front of them.
Yeah.
And so do that. Just keep those drips going. So a drip, for you guys who don't know what a drip is that little email that you get once a week from a vendor you sign up for a product from one point. It's an automated email. It comes to you every week. If you make it useful, people get addicted to those. That's why drips work.
Mm-hmm.
Is you want to create that desire, that reliability of like, oh, it hits me every Monday. If you do a bad one, no one reads it. It just goes to the spam folder. But if you create a good one, which I've seen good ones, like the Gartner for me is a good one. I will read the synopsis and see if it's a paper that I care about. 90% of them I throw away, but every once in a while, there's one that I will spend $1,000 to download and read. Every once in a while. And that's all that matters. Every once in a while, one of your clients is going to buy into this Zoom streaming. And you can use our podcast. You can use the email material that I create for you every week to do this. That stuff is for you to use. And if you want help on building that stuff, feel to reach out to myself or Skip, and we'll help you. We're not marketing experts by any means, but we do know our material really well. And that's pretty much all there is to quoting. Like, it's not my favorite topic. I'm not a sales guy. I came from an engineering background, but I do understand that when you're doing your QBRs, you have to have follow up. You have to create reminders to keep in front of these clients because they don't always buy in the first meeting. It may be that with this, you're prepping for your Q3 QBRs that are coming up here in 3 months, that you're feeding those so that it's a much easier sell then. And it might be that all these roll into a Q4 QBR where the client has been hearing about this problem all year long. They've been seeing the solution all year long in your QBRs, and they've been seeing it in these drip emails. And then they decide that 2022 is going to be the year they buy in on it. So that might be finally when we get them to increase a little reliability of Zoom streaming through a bigger pipe and a better firewall.
Yeah, and here's the real value. You guys have heard me say this before. The Probably the number one value, in my opinion, of the reports is probably going to be that project roadmap, because you can get things on the roadmap even if they're a ways down the road. And getting it on there, talking about the client, getting approval that yes, we need to do this. Maybe you haven't even got to the pricing point yet. All right, and that's fine. But we've got on the roadmap, the client goes, all right, I understand that I need to do this. I don't think I can do it now. Let's put it off until some date in the future. And if
Yep.
you're doing that with all of your clients, all right, then it's gonna take a little, probably 1 quarter would be my guess, but maybe even 2 quarters. That after you start running with that, then you're gonna hit to that spot where you're constantly coming around and you've hit that time frame with this client and then the next client and the next client and the next client. And what you're going to find yourself in is this cycle of, oh, wow, I've got a ton of projects because we started planning all of these back 3, 6 months ago, a year ago. All right. And if you want to be in that place in the future, you've got to start doing it now. So get those QBRs scheduled, start having these conversations, put these projects on the roadmap.
Definitely. And as I am just floored that you did not say the phrase "stop leaving money on the table."
Well,
Because that's what this is for.
yeah,
These
that's true.
drips, these reminders, how many projects have we all lost out on because we just forgot about them?
Yes. Yep.
These project proposals, these quotes, and these QBRs keep that in front of your customers. And that's what that project roadmap is, like what Skip said. It keeps the project, like, next time you get ready for a QBR, you're going to open up like the project listing there. You go, oh crap, I forgot they really wanted to do that. Yeah, maybe it
That's
only was a $500 project. Shavings make a pile, guys.
it. That's right.
You're always going to remember the $50,000 sand upgrade, but the $500 get new laptop for person X, the $1,200 that, you'll forget about those in between all of the meetings that you have. But as long as you get them in the project report, in the project pipeline, they will stay there. That's the value of the MSP tool, is it's going to keep your ideas in front of you. So when you talk to your clients, they stay there. When you do a drip campaign, you can look and see what all clients are looking at doing upgraded firewalls. You can pull that up in the report and say, I'm going to get this out there for them. And when you do that, you're going to get more money. Just one of those projects pays for the entire subscription for MSPL for a year.
Yeah.
So keep on top of them, use them. And then if you can, do a drip campaign. And we will see that you're going to get a bite every once in a while. And you're going to, but you want to make sure your drip campaign is pointed. Use the emails that we send, use the materials that we send, and then apply a action item of, hey, if you like the podcast or if you liked what they said in this blog entry, we do sell that. We can implement that at your business. There,
Yep.
that's all you have. And that's all I have this week, guys. Boring topic, but extremely lucrative if you implement it well. You can always buy books on this. There's lots of books on drip campaigns and on marketing. Most of us don't have time for it. So if you just want to follow through on kind of the ideas we have today, get some time with Skip or I. We'll talk you through it. Or just start an email that goes out every Monday to your clients that contains action items.
There you go.
All right. We'll talk to you all later. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.